Recording. There we go. So welcome everybody to today's session. My name is Susan Heyman and I am the Members, Networks and Engagement Manager across Northern Ireland and Scotland. I am based in Belfast, but as you can tell from my accent, I'm from Boston. So I apologize in advance that you don't have a lovely Scottish inflection to listen to over the next 30 minutes, but hopefully you can still follow along. Post in the chat wherever you're from. Today's session is specifically for Scotland students, but of course, wherever you're logging in from, we're going to be covering a lot about student membership. Let me see if I can just share my screen for a moment. Oh, let's see. Let me share. There we go. There we go. Everybody see that? Hopefully we're in the right page. Good. So just some housekeeping. Today's session is recorded, and if we could all pose for a quick picture, my marketing manager, Louise, is going to take a quick snapshot of us for our socials. So if you don't want to be in the shot, just turn your cameras off in 3, 2, 1. Great, and thank you also to our volunteers who are joining us today from the branches. Later on in the session, we'll be going into breakout rooms where you can hear about all the fantastic events going on in your local branch. So we'll just get started. What is the CIPD? We are the professional body for HR and people development. We are a registered charity who champion for better work and working lives. And we create the benchmark and the criteria for meeting our standards in the profession. Basically, we say what good looks like. And many of you would have recently studied or are starting to study your CIPD qualifications. So these would be delivered through external learning providers or colleges or universities. So again, we have offices all across the UK, Ireland, Middle East, and Asia. And we are that partner and voice for the people profession. So we are making a case for better work using research, thought leadership, influencing in public policy, which we'll talk more of, social impact, and campaigning for change. We support HR professionals to impact the world of work. So as you all know, CIPD qualifications are what you're studying in some form or level. These courses help build your career and enhance your professionalism. And this really allows you to challenge the status quo, be disruptive in the work environment, and inspire action and influence change. So there are 3 different levels of CIPD qualifications: foundation, associate, and advanced. You're probably studying or in the middle of studying or almost done studying one of these, but it's really about looking to see your work experience and where you can combine your work experience with your qualification to see where you are in terms of your membership. And we'll talk more about that in a moment. So what do we do in Scotland? Because, you know, most of you will be in Scotland. Our role is varied and our ambition is really big. We have nearly 11,000 members in Scotland. And as I've mentioned, there's lots of benefits available to all of our members, wherever you're based, especially in this current virtual world. But it's important that you know what we do in Scotland specifically, right? So because we're a devolved nation in the UK, we need to ensure that we have a voice in policy and that any solutions that are developed in the workplace are relevant to Scotland. Or we try to develop our own evidence in devolved matters. So we have a very active policy team in Scotland that you can join and be a part of that conversation. We also run 2 conferences every year, so mark your calendars. There's a virtual UK-wide student conference on the 18th of March, and that is free for all students. I highly suggest attending. Last year it was a brilliant, a brilliant session throughout the day. And then we also have our Scotland annual conference, which is on the 30th of March. We'll have a special student discount rate for this, and it is held in Edinburgh at the International Conference Centre. So definitely keep your eyes peeled for our monthly newsletter where you'll see more updates on that. We also have a public policy forum, as I mentioned. If you're interested in understanding more about public policy and how it relates to practice and how to get involved, join the next policy forum event. So that'll also be run in our monthly newsletter. And then we have a Scotland-wide network for senior practitioners. And why is this important for students to know about? So we have 4 fantastic branches that are delivering content for OD, L&D, ER, and reward, all the specialisms, and those are open for all students. There's some great content in there, by the way, which you can use to reference in your assessments. And for those of you who are interested in a freelance career or being your own boss, you might be interested in our independent consultants network. That group is meeting next on the 25th of January in Edinburgh. So I'll come back to the Senior Practitioners Network in a moment. But to be clear, CIPD, which is my team, the regional team, we put on regional events which are virtual and Scotland-wide. And the Senior People Practitioner Network brings these HR leaders together to share best practices, support the SME community in Scotland, and get feedback as to where our research should be going. These networks are really important to CIPD because it's us having our ear to the ground and really getting a pulse of what's to come in the field of HR. And that information that we gather goes into central CIPD, works with our research teams, and then you get the content delivered to you as students in your learning, because everything that you're learning on your CIPD qualification is very practical knowledge that you can use straight away in your career. And then separate from the regional team, you have the local branch events, and these are organized by our amazing branch volunteers. And this is a great local networking opportunity for all students at any level, wherever you are in your career. But you'll meet representatives from your branches later on and hear more about the local activities that are being planned this year. So with nearly 11,000 members, it is a challenge to reach all of them. So we have all the social media channels that you would expect. LinkedIn is probably our most popular. And then a monthly newsletter, which comes out the first Tuesday of every month. So you can subscribe to this on the website, and it's really the best way to stay connected with us. Our regional team is based in Scotland, except for me. I'm across in Belfast. But my team are always available for our members. We're always open to hearing what you have to say. And we do have lots of support from the branch volunteers as well, if you need to reach out to any of us. So a little bit about myself, I sort of skipped over that. I worked recently for a learning provider, a CIPD learning provider. So I do understand the position a lot of you are in. You're starting your qualification or you're midway through, you're thinking about next steps, or like, what is this qualification going to get me? Maybe you're looking to change careers or get promoted, or maybe you're just starting out and finishing university. Maybe this is something you wanted for your CV. It'll definitely help you in the application sift to be a qualified practitioner. But at the end of the day, the qualification is so much more than just some designations after your name, right? The journey doesn't end once you finish studying and once you get the qualification. It's more about having the tools and resources to really make an impact and initiate change within your organization. So you should all be really proud of yourselves, because it's not an easy achievement to study to be an HR practitioner. And I want you to be aware of all of the opportunities available to you through continued membership. So we're committed as an organization to improving professional standards, whether you're an employee, a consultant, self-employed, new to the profession, or even if you're a people director, very experienced, your membership with CIPD really showcases your level of knowledge and impact in your work. And we want you to become part of this community, not because of membership fees, but because it really strengthens our legitimacy and our worth as a profession to have the most diverse spectrum of members who are meeting our standards and following our values. So CIPD want to deliver content to really keep you at the top of your game. We want to support you in being impactful in your role and not just having a job. Nobody just wants a job. These days, everyone wants it to mean something and have your time be spent on something that you really love. So being an influencer in the industry, I mentioned before, having an impact and being disruptive, and really excelling in your career, whatever path you choose, we want to help this profession stay relevant, and we want you as a member to have a seat at the most important tables in your career, really inspiring action. And we can only do this if our members keep engaging with us. I compare like HR professionals a lot to doctors and lawyers and accountants, even like a dental hygienist. They all have to show continuous professional development year on year. They have to continue taking exams. They have to continue going on courses and really staying on top of this ever-changing aspect of their role. Like, you wouldn't trust someone whose license lapsed. You wouldn't go to a doctor who didn't have a license to practice. So yeah, it's quite interesting. I wouldn't have much confidence in someone who did. So there are time limits on the validity of most degrees, including law. Employment law changes so frequently. That would be actually an interesting requirement for HR practitioners. Then maybe we wouldn't have another P&O scandal, right? So you have to wonder. We are the people who are looking after organizations' number one asset, which is its people. And I truly believe that CIPD, we have the knowledge and the research to really impact and make a difference in the lives of workers and the world of work. I mean, that's our professional responsibility, right? To improve the lives of the people who work with us. That is our number one responsibility as practitioners. So sorry, I divulged, but getting back to membership. As your career progresses, you want to make sure that your grade accurately displays your level of impact and knowledge and capability. So you can use an online upgrading and experience assessment tool on the CIPD website, and that can help you gauge where you're at in your career. So how can we support you in work and studies? So your CIPD membership gives you access to a ton of content and resources and lots of guides to help you in your work and studies. It can seem overwhelming, but we've been working really hard at streamlining the information on our website. So the Knowledge Hub is where you go to get the references for your assessments that you'll be completing right now. The Knowledge Hub is this like main repository for all CIPD content on our website. And we publish all of our content there to help you like stay informed and keep your knowledge of the profession up to date. So also on the Knowledge Hub, you'll find all these like specialist hubs, which offer the latest guidance and research. Now I keep throwing the words guidance and research around, but I really want you to understand the enormity of those two things. As the awarding body of the HR profession, we have this huge responsibility to our practitioners to offer them current resources and that enable them to make these massive decisions that are shaping the new world of work. We're in these really unprecedented times at the moment, where flexible working, inclusion, equity, diversity, well-being, these are at the forefront of how we work and conversations happening in the boardroom. So the way that we see work has completely changed over the last few years. And to make the most sound decisions in these times of uncertainty, CIPD are doing everything we can to support our members and non-members alike. So decision makers such as politicians or chief executives, they all come to us for help and guidance. and they're looking to be educated on the latest issues happening in the workplace. So, lots of political MPs will come to us for short courses just to understand the delicacies of some of the debate and workplace content. I mean, last year you would have read about, I mentioned the P&O scandal. Then there was like Maya Forstater and the free speech dilemma. Like, if you don't hold, so that, just to summarize, if you don't hold the same values as the organization you work for, should you work there? Can you have personal views and opinions online if your organization doesn't represent those same views? So quite interesting topics. And then last year in global news, I'm American, so there was this big debate over vaccine mandates. So can you charge employees a surcharge if they cost your organization extra money for not being vaccinated? Or if they have health issues, or if they're smokers, can we charge them money because they're costing the company money? I mean, some companies are doing it, right? So CIPD are at the forefront of these conversations, and we collate as much content as possible to enable our HR leaders to make the most insightful decisions that's for the best interest of the people. And you're a part of that conversation by being a member. So looking at the Student Hub, this is also under the membership tab. This sort of acts as your shop window for all of the resources available to help support CIPTE students before and during and after you're studying. But there are great study guides on here which provide tips for studying, writing essays and business reports. For example, Harvard referencing is part of your assessment criteria. So if you don't know what that is, you can view a brief tutorial on the Student Hub and find that out. And there are also some helplines. So as a CIPD member, you have access to a range of different helplines. There's an employment law helpline that provides guidance on all aspects of UK employment law. Whether you need clarification on something or you want to talk through a situation, the helpline is available for a quick check or a second opinion on legal issues. And then as a member, you'll also be kept up to date with People Management Magazine, and this comes out 10 times a year and is posted to all members. CIPD members also get access to PM Jobs. Now, this isn't on the slide. Oh, well, it is, but it's really important. I wish it was more obvious. But this is the official job site for CIPD, and you can search for your next role by categories such as specialism, sector, job level. You also receive job alerts, and you can access career advice on the website. So it's definitely probably the best part of people management and the most helpful in supporting in your career. So you're probably all familiar with the profession map. And you wouldn't think, how can the profession map support me in my career? But this is a key reflective tool that helps gauge where you are in your career and what you need to do in order to perform at the next level, if that's what you want to do. Or if you want to move into a specialism, the profession map will tell you what you need to focus on in order to get there. It helps you impact change in your organization. It helps you be a more confident decision maker. It helps you outperform your peers. I mean, I use the profession map a lot because it's a good tool to use and reflect on what you've done and how you can improve. So the learning content in here is really about keeping you future fit and helps you evolve as a professional and build your capabilities. So your own continuous professional development will help assess where you are against the profession map and identify your strengths and opportunities. It also creates tailored development options for you. So it'll just send you a list of courses and say, if you want to move up a level or if you want to become more skilled in this core knowledge, here are some short courses you could take. So utilize the profession map if you haven't already. And then your career hub. So this has lots of great tools for managing career progression. There's also, just to highlight, CV support and assessments on there. And these resources are available if you want to change specialisms or apply for a promotion further down the road. They're not just for starting out. So a lot of students will use the career hub when they when they start to build their, cover letter, but then they don't ever use it again. So it is really a good tool to revisit anytime you're looking for support. And then we also have career support, which gives practical tips on taking first steps into the profession. A lot of you will be studying at university. So how do you progress in a post-pandemic climate? And there's information there which is so relevant, and firsthand accounts from senior members in HR who share their own journey. There's also information on the different career options for HR professionals. I mean, who knew there's like over a dozen different specialisms that you can focus on and make a great career out of. So definitely worth having a look. And then growing your network. So CIPD communities are thriving, right? During the pandemic, most of the branch events have moved online, which means you can join any event taking place, no matter where you're located. I've definitely been known to attend some virtual happy hour events in London, even though I'm nowhere near there, but it's really nice. You meet some very interesting people. There's lots of fun virtual activities and ways you can meet other CIPD members. We also have several channels for networking online. So the CIPD Community Forum is brilliant. On there, you'll find a careers clinic, which is fantastic for offering guidance. The forum also has a group, the CIPD Community Forum also has a group called Workplace Dilemmas and Confidence, and this allows you to post anonymously. So unlike the helpline, the employment law helpline, this is just a sounding board with HR professionals. So it's a great space to share confidential dilemmas with a wide range of peers and get a second opinion on sensitive issues you might be handling in the workplace. The forum is also available in an app, as if we need another reason to look at our phones, but it's quite similar to Facebook, where you can like and comment and create posts. And you can also access your digital membership card on the CIPD Community Forum. So volunteering, this is so fantastic. There's so many volunteer opportunities for our students. You'll be in touch with your local branch shortly, and you'll hear from them in a minute on how you can be a part of volunteering with them. You can also volunteer to help schools or colleges by, pledging an hour to help them run a workshop on topics such as CV writing or interview skills, or, contact your local school to arrange a visit and talk to pupils about careers in the people profession. It's a great way to improve your public speaking and your presentation skills. And I don't know about you, but I wish someone had told me more about the people profession when I was starting out. I definitely have run a few interview workshops in my past, and oh my, there are a lot of young people who need help with interview skills. But there's lots of volunteering schemes available to you, and to find out more, you can just visit our website, and the URL is listed there. It's /volunteer. And then lastly, supporting your well-being. So in recognition of increased pressures and personal, financial, and emotional challenges, many of our members are currently facing difficulties. So we launched a well-being helpline for UK and Ireland. Calls are free, confidential. Phone lines are open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And you can really work through whatever it is you're dealing with a qualified therapist. And you can also speak to debt and financial information managers and consultants. We understand the last few years have been quite difficult, especially, students as well have been transitioning and facing hardship. So definitely check it out. There's mini health checks and self-help programs on the Health Assured app as well. And it's all the information's on our website for our members. And lastly, what student doesn't want to save some money? So you get lots of discounts. As I mentioned, you get discounts to our Scotland annual conference, which is coming up in March. You also get 50% off HR Inform, and this is a pretty awesome resource I just want to highlight. And this covers you as an HR practitioner for any legal advice. It's sort of like a toolkit for how to manage any issue an HR practitioner would come across. So it'll guide you on how to manage furlough, neurodiversity in the workplace, manage sick and leave pay, maternity rights, and it just keeps you up to date with all of the changing legislation, and helps guide you step by step through all of these HR issues that you'd have to face in your career. So that is a really brilliant resource. And I know a lot of our independent consultants rely on HR Inform in order to make their day-to-day decisions. So definitely keep in touch. We've got our social feeds, as I mentioned, and our newsletters. Please, I can't stress it enough. Go to the Scotland page on the website and sign up to our monthly newsletter. It's really the best way to keep in touch. Or you can drop me an email. My name's Susan, and you can get me at scotland@cipd.co.uk. And someone on my team or myself will always be open to answering your questions. But right now, what I want to do is share some insights about the HR job market, specifically in Scotland, and what roles are available and what employers are looking for. So I want to welcome Leslie Gilmartin. She's the director of LHH Recruitment Solutions, and she's going to speak to us for the next 10 minutes just about what's going on in Scotland. And thank you so much, Leslie, for being here today.
That's quite all right. Can everybody see and hear me?
Yes, that's great.
Perfect. So good afternoon, everybody, and absolutely delighted to speak to you. And I am a fellow of the CIPD and have been for a number of years, and still rely on the resources on the website. So never ever underestimate that there'll be an answer there somewhere. So B&C LHH, you may have heard of us. We're a recruitment firm based in the UK, part of a global group. In Scotland in particular, we're based in Glasgow and Edinburgh, but we have offices in Brighton and Cambridge and London and Birmingham and Bristol. So we specialise in what we call the professional services. So we specialise in HR, finance, marketing, communications, etc. And we have a couple of people based up and down the country, including one in Glasgow, who specialise in HR roles. So this is 10 minutes worth of sort of going to throw a whole load of information at you, so my apologies. Just thinking about giving you some insights into the HR job market. What does it look like? What type of roles are available? And more importantly, I think what employers are looking for. And what I've done here is just done a bit of a brain dump on the market and where to look. And apologies if some of this is obvious and you've seen this type of thing before. But I would always make sure that you're on top of and signed up for alerts on the job boards. If you're in Scotland, S1 Jobs is by far the most popular and commonly used job board and job site. Obviously, you've got the CIPD one, CV Library, Total Jobs. And then the one that lots of people forget about is Indeed. And Indeed is an aggregate website. So it sort of sweeps up jobs from every other website and plomps them in one place. And you can sign up for alerts for those things. Also make sure that you are registering with 2 or 3 recruiters who focus on HR roles. So have a look at the job boards, work out who's recruiting for what, who's looking for what, and make sure that you're then speaking to recruiters who are focused on HR. The best way to work out what employers are looking for is actually to look at live advertising and to look at S1 Jobs, for example. If you're Scotland based, what are people actually looking for? What skills or knowledge and specialism are they after? And I know that there's a huge debate, in particular if this is your first role. Do I specialise or do I go for a general HR? The answer to that is, well, maybe yes and maybe no. But my advice would be, I would always go general first and then you can specialise later. Where that might be slightly different is if you're looking at an organisation as a graduate, or you're looking and a lot of organisations, especially in the public sector, are now looking at graduate interns. So you may find that there's a graduate internship in the diversity and inclusion team or in the recruitment and resourcing team. And if that's something that is coming your way, then yes, I would grab that with both hands, but don't try to get pigeonholed into that specialism too early. Having a think about the organisations you want to work with. Do you want to go into the third sector, the charity sector? Do you want to go into financial services, construction? Where do you actually want to be? And make sure that you're signing into their career portal too. Look at graduate schemes that we've talked about, and very often those are obviously the larger organisations, and in particular the financial services organisations. And something that a lot of people forget, a lot of people are thinking, well, I haven't really worked very much, and I don't have a whole lot of experience, and I'm thinking of putting something on LinkedIn, but is that appropriate when I've not really? Yes, it absolutely is. Put your profile on LinkedIn, have a look at another couple of more experienced HR people, see what they've got on their profile, make sure it's kept up to date, like, share, post, get your name out there on the LinkedIn community. People like me, recruiters like me, use LinkedIn as a huge database. So we actually pay for LinkedIn. That's how LinkedIn makes it money. So if you're putting on your particular skills, the area that you're keen to work in, we will be able to find you when we use that database to do a search. So make sure that LinkedIn, and you're active on LinkedIn. Sometimes people also forget family, friends, friends of friends, next door neighbours, your dad's Uncle Charlie, whoever it happens to be. Very often the people who are under our noses we forget about, and I would make sure that the people in your personal network as well as your work network are aware that you're going to be looking for a new role soon. And also remember that obviously things have changed over the past couple of years, and you don't necessarily need to work within 30 miles of where you live. You might actually be keen to move house anyway, but so many jobs now are remote or hybrid. So just, you know, thinking about expanding your geographical search a little bit. I know that there's a whole load of advice on the CIPD website about this, but what I've got here is what I would think is a pretty ideal CV for anyone, actually. And bearing in mind your CV is your marketing tool. That's exactly what it's there for. You would be and I think I mentioned this later as well, actually, you'd be gobsmacked, or surprised rather, that the number of people who apply for jobs and don't put their contact details on their CV. So name, contact details, a bit about you, key achievements and career history. So key achievements, and even if you've not really worked in HR before, you can still pull out 2 or 3 key achievements, projects that you've delivered, voluntary work that you've done. In my view, it's the key achievements on a CV that are really giving the reader an idea of who you are and what you would bring to that role. So think quite carefully about your key achievements. And I've put 8 to 10 there. 4 to 5 is perfect. 4 to 5 is certainly better than nothing at all. And just making sure that when it says, can you send a tailored CV, it's those achievements that you're tailoring to meet the job. Somebody looking at your CV wants to be able to pinpoint the words that they're looking for. Some information here about the best CV, and you know, obviously you can read a lot of this for yourself, but again, I am surprised at how many HR people make the mistakes on CVs that you would think they would know better about. Always write your CV with the reader in mind. Make it easy to read. Show the reasons for moving, or show the reasons for study. So I worked for so long and I've gone back to study, or I've done this and this is why I'm studying. You just give that a bit of a story. It doesn't need to be chapter and verse. Bullet points are certainly easier to read, but just give people an idea of who you are. I would always include a covering note, a covering letter or an email that will make you stand out from the crowd. if you're applying for a job, please follow the instructions. If there's a closing date, make sure you make that closing date, and also show your volunteering roles. And then a whole load of don'ts there about please no photographs, make it too busy, don't give reference details, don't show your hobbies. It's important that your CV is punchy. I don't quite know where the myth came that a CV should be no more than 2 pages. If it happens to be 3 pages, that's fine. I would certainly do no more than 3, absolutely no more than 4 if you've got a lot of experience to put on there. Thinking about applying for roles, and ultimately you're giving evidence, and this is also where you can link back to your LinkedIn profile. You're showing your resilience, you're showing how you can cope with pressure, of what skills and experience you're bringing. And if you're writing your CV and applying with the reader in mind, then you're really going to focus on, I've understood this job, I understood what they're looking for, let me show you through my CV that I can do this job for you. What's key is that if you are looking for a role and you're applying for a role, if there is any step at all that would give you a hint of who to contact, always pick up the phone. And that will also go for the recruiters that you're going to be engaging with. We do a lot by email, of course we do, but again, what will make you stand out is actually picking up the phone and having a conversation with someone. And just thinking about how you go about getting this role. Build the network, use your CIPD as the starting point, but also think about ACAS, think about employment law updates. We all get invited to those free. Volunteer for CIPD, as we've already talked about. Think about who else you could network, build this through LinkedIn. Networking doesn't happen in the room, network happens before and after you actually go to an event, so always link in with the people you've met. Go to as many conferences and workshops as you can, understand the market, and as I've said already, pick up the phone. And that's it. The work starts now, as I've said.
That's great. Thank you so much, Leslie. That was fantastic. The insights are brilliant. And that's exactly what I think a lot of our students want to hear. So let me just, skip down. Where am I here? 20s. Oh, sorry, a bit of technical difficulties. So thank you again for the career advice. I think it's quite insightful for students to have that. And again, CIPD is a good starting point. We've got loads of connections. We've done a lot of work with LHH, and partnering with them again this year will be brilliant, especially with our events coming up. So let's get you to speak now to your local branches. We've put a couple of rooms together. So a lot of you, I did ask for you guys to email me with which branch you preferred to hear about the activities coming up, but to be perfectly honest, it doesn't matter. As I mentioned, a lot of branch activities will be online, so you'll have the option to go to either of them. We do have a couple of speakers from each of the branches, just to give a bit of insight about their own experience with CIPD, and you'll be able to ask them questions or hear more about what's happening at branch level. And then if you want to ask me a personal question, I'll answer the ones in the chat, but you can always jump back into this meeting room when you're done. And I'll be here until 15:15.